How is the weather at your end?
Sunny, sir. Sunny weather.
Thank you. All right. 1 minute to start. Keep your systems ready. At your end. We'll start in a minute. All right, let's get started. This is a good time to start. Let me know any queries, any questions that you have before we start our session. No questions. How is the training for you? How is the training going on? Is it too fast? Is it too slow? What are your feedback about the training? Is there anything that we are missing? Is there anything that you are not able to resolve, or any improvement that you might suggest? How is it going?
It's okay, sir.
Feedback is very much important. I want everyone to open up for their expectation of this course. Were we able to let you know about the tools that you were trying to learn? Since these are new tools for you, were you able to understand these tools? How is it going? I wanted to hear from everyone.
I think so. It is good, sir, and like good confidence.
Good, sir. Need to practice more.
Practice more.
It was good, but sir, I think we have just skipped that portals in Power Apps.
Portals.
Yes, sir. We've seen about only Canvas app and model-driven apps, whereas we haven't seen anything about the portals.
Yeah, right. Portals are actually not part of the course that is decided for you guys. As per your training manager, I think I forwarded a link with you all, right? Where we do have topics that will be covered up. That was decided with the uh, training coordinator that I have, but I don't see portals are part of it. Do you see portals are part of it? No, I don't see them.
No, sir. Portals are not in the curriculum, but once we have to confirm from the manager what is the client need.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted your training coordinator wanted to add those topics, then you might need to contact my team and then they would add that up.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, already. Anything to change? Any the way of presenting, the way we go ahead, like we go with theory, we do also practice. Anything to change? Anything, any improvement that you want me to bring up?
Sir, training is going smoothly, but we don't know about the real-time scenario. What is there in that?
Mhm.
We're practicing the practicing it. What you are sharing that practicals we are doing, but it's like the scenario of real time or anything. There
So
is.
they are relevant to what you are going to also implement. So I won't say that this is only the uh, real-time scenario that you will have there. You will have a lot of things. The purpose of this training is to train your mind for real-time scenarios. And we went through some of the examples which are more or less similar to the real-time examples. But that's what I said. This is a very long course we have, right? So any real-time scenario that you think or you may be thinking of that how I can implement it, we can always discuss them on the class.
Okay, sir.
Right?
Okay, sir. Thanks.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen. I hope that's visible. Is it?
Sir. Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Yesterday we made our way throughout learning about Power Automate. Today we will continue the same and we will deep dive into understanding how a lot of things can be done. When it comes to Power Automate, we made some simple flows. But today, we would also go ahead and see how we can introduce Power Automate logics. When it comes to logic, we have learned about a lot of things, right? So when I use the term logics, I'm specifically referring to different types of logics that can be introduced. To start with, the first of the logics that can be introduced within Power Automate logics are grouped as controls. So they are all termed as controls. Remember every time that they will be control what we would use. In controls, you will find a lot of things such as conditions. Conditions are nothing but if statements. What are if statements? Can anyone let me know what is if logic? What does if logic means?
The validation kind of things. One is
Condition and last condition where we can use statement.
Mhm.
statement. Another is counterpart of this.
All right. So for any else, if and else statement, there is always a logic. There is always the equation which will return its value in terms of that being true or that being false. Flow can also check this logic using a control that is known as conditions. Condition can help you acquire certain logic in Power Automate, which will let you have a very complicated flow. Now, for an example, let's go here. Let's go into Power Microsoft Forms. Where are my Microsoft Forms? This is right over here. Okay, this is Microsoft Forms, and in Microsoft Forms, I have an Office 365 survey form. This form is shared across my organization to collect survey for these entities. Choose the application, rate the application, right? Now, what user usually do is they go ahead, they select the Teams app and they rate the application. I provided 5-star, few may provided 1-star, 2-star or 3-star. Now, where will my logic come here in the picture? Let's just say they are submitting responses. Somebody who is submitting five response, I don't like to receive that notification. It is a good response. But somebody who is submitting one response or two response, I would like to go ahead and receive a notification for them. So my logic brings down to having a response where the rating of the application is less than 3. That would be my logic. If the rating of the application is less than 3, then send me a notification. Else, do not send me a notification. Right? That's what the logic we could do. So let's just go ahead and build a flow around this logic. This is do along with the trainer exercise. All right, you would need to go to Microsoft Forms. You can use App Launcher and go to Microsoft Forms and create a form with these two questions. Choose the application, rate the application. Guys, do this along with me. Go to Microsoft Forms and create a Office 365 Microsoft Forms, which will have two questions. Are you done with creating these two questions?
Yes.
Is everybody done? Should we proceed? Done, right? Should we begin?
No, sir, just wait.
Okay, I'll wait for 2-3 minutes. No worries. Take your time.
Yeah, done, sir.
Okay. So the next thing is, how would you connect this form to your Power Automate? Like as soon as the response is submitted, how would you have them? So the first thing is click on create. All right. And then move towards automated cloud flow. Why automated? Because responses are cloud activities. I will name this flow as form response. So bad response. And I will select the first trigger, which is when a new response is submitted. I'll click on create. This will take me to the flow designer. The first thing that I wanted to have is the form being picked. So it will go ahead, search for my form, and I will see that form right over here. The next step is when a form is submitted, I also want to receive those form details. What it means is when users submit this response, they will select teams, they will rate that application. So I want these details, what user is selecting in each of the responses. So I will add an action which will say get response details. The action is get response details. It will also ask you for a form ID, which is Office 365 survey form, and the response ID. Now, the previous step, which is when a new response is submitted, every form has a unique ID, and every response also have a unique ID. That response unique ID will populate in dynamic content coming from the first step. So I'll click on response ID. The second step is bringing all of the details that are required for me to use it up. Now, as soon as I have the response submitted, I have response details. I will put up a condition here. So I'll go to control and I will, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I will say I want to use condition. So you can see condition is nothing but an if and else statement where you compare two values, and if your condition, if your condition is true, then your flow will move toward the yes part. If the condition is false, then your flow will move towards the no part, right? So I will say I'll choose a value on the left side, rate the application. You can see all the questions are right over here. Rate the application, choose the application. In the dynamic content here, I'll say rate the application is less than 3, then send me an email. So in the yes section, I will add an action, which is send me an email. I'll specify it to myself. I'll suggest the subject line as response, or let's just say that bad response submitted. For response ID this, hello, below are the response details. Response details, what was the rating received? And what was the application chosen? That's it. Save. Now my form will be, now my flow would trigger up every time I have a bad response. Remember, it will only trigger up for responses that are less than 3. Go ahead and configure these steps in your flow. The first step is when a new response is submitted, then you have get response details and then the conditions.
Try running the flow, testing the flow by submitting a response, and let me know if it works for you. Are you done with creating this flow? Guys, are you done with creating this flow? All right, let me know once you complete this flow, once you're done with creating 4 steps. All right, what's the status? Were you able to create this flow? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Any issues while creating this flow?
No, no issues, sir. After that, test it, sir.
Yeah, click on test manually and submit the survey. So go back to the survey and submit the survey. So you will click on test manually. Once you are done, you should submit this survey with 2 stars rating. And the flow should run in a similar manner. And let me know if your flow runs successfully.
As same thing occurred, means that in that condition is the flow is not running. It's showing
Okay.
error, sir.
Flow runs fail.
So ideally, a flow should not run. We should all receive error. Now, if we
Unable to process
Why, sir?
yes, the flow will not run because there is a problem with the flow. The problem is that we are comparing 2 functions to each other. So if you will see, the function was invoked with values of type string and integer. That means in this condition, we are comparing string to an integer. So for using conditions, this is very mandatory that we compare 2 similar data types value to each other. So text to text, string to string, integer to an integer. Now rate the application. If I go back here in my Office 365 survey, I see that this is a star value, which is coming as a string value right over here. I need to rate the application value to an integer. In this context, I will take help of expressions. So on the right side, I do have an expression field, right? So I do have dynamic content here. On the right side, I have expressions. What are expressions? Expressions are those functions that will let you do certain activities such as manipulate date and time, manipulate text, or convert one data types to another. So you will also have conversion functions. In a similar way, I will use an integer function. So do this along with me. Remove the value of rate the application, switch from dynamic content to expression, and we will use integer function to convert the string value to an integer. So I'll just type int. I will have the integer function. I'll open up the bracket. And within this integer function, I will keep my dynamic content of rate the application. And then click on OK. This is where expressions are used. Expression will be used in a lot of places, right? Once again, I'll use an expression. I will type integer. Then I will open up the bracket. It will bring the close bracket as well. And within these bracket, I will keep my dynamic content, which is rate the application. It will bring a value right over here, and I'll click on OK. Now, this expression will change its value from string to an integer, and for sure, I can run my flow to see it working. So when you change this to integer, go ahead, do it manually, save and test. And now if I submit, Tell me.
Yeah, I'm just asking that suppose I'm inserting diet read the application, then it will store the string, right?
That's right.
Then in that other side you have to write the 3 directly, so that's why it will match. No, it's not.
No.
Get it.
I'm using a function. I'm using an expression to convert the string function to an integer.
Yes, sir, get it.
You didn't get it?
Yes, sir, get it.
Should I explain again?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Try making those changes and then run your flow. It will run.
Yeah. Simple. What text? Mail connected is currently restricted to emails.
Any error?
Yes, sir.
Share your screen. Okay. Edit. The connector that you are using, send an email notification. It should be of Outlook. This is not of Outlook, so you need to delete that. Delete the step. Add an action. Send an email. The send n. Remove everything. Yeah. No. Send an email. Type Outlook. Okay, here see for send an email. Click on Office 365 Outlook. Yeah. That's right. Here you need to select send an email. Is it working?
Yes, sir. Now
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
The melody, so maybe the answer. Sir, we can give two different melodies for that. Means suppose if bad some response submitted, then it will be going to some. Suppose my first melody, otherwise it will go to the second melody. In that, if no condition.
yes, sir. I can use personal email address.
Say that again. I didn't get your question.
No, I am saying, sir, here we can use personal email address.
In Outlook, no. Then connector should be of that. If you're using Gmail ID, then the connector would be of Gmail. If you're using Outlook, then it should be Office 365 email ID.
Like
My personal email ID is also like as a output like Outlook, sir. So it will work, sir, or not?
That can be used.
Oh, okay.
Abhishek, what was your question?
Yeah, I'm just asking that in that if yes condition I am giving one melody on my first melody, and if no condition I'll give the second melody. Is it possible?
That's possible, yes. In the No tab, you can configure the same action.
Yeah, and also I'm just asking that suppose I have to choose that if else if condition, then is it possible?
If and else is same thing, yes and no. So if yes, else no. That's what it is.
No. I'm just asking that if this condition is true, then give me the mail. Otherwise, this condition is give means true, then it will be giving some other things. else it will give another things.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
else if,
Mhm.
then how to answer if else if?
So the condition, if yes and no, is nothing but if and else. So if the value is true, then move towards yes. That's what the flow does. Else move towards no.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine, sir. I don't ask that. I'm asking, suppose if A is greater than 6, then give some output, means give true. Else if A is greater than 4 and less than 6, then give true or false. Then else it will give false. Means I want that type of application. Means
Very,
suppose
very confusing. Just wait. Okay, so what is your condition?
yeah, my condition is if A is greater than 0, then positive number.
If A is greater than 0. So
Then
the your
positive.
flow will move towards yes. Okay, then.
Else if A is less than 0, then negative number.
So you need to have another. Okay.
Yeah.
So it would be nested conditions. I mean,
Yeah, nested if.
yeah, nesting as if here you would need to add an action. Or you can also add a parallel branch. So add a parallel branch, and then here you need to add that condition. So I can say that rate the application is equal to 5. Right? I hope that answers your question.
No, sir. It's not my question. I'm just asking that after the condition, if the rating is less than 3, then it will give email.
Yes, this
If
will give
the email, if the rating is greater than 3 and less than 5, then it will give the email to my another account.
this
Otherwise,
will,
it will give the text message that rating is 6.
so let's say here I rate 2. What would happen? It will send it to Vibor, right?
Yeah.
If it is greater than 3, then I will configure the no part of it,
Greater than 3 and less than 5.
which means 4, right?
Yeah.
You have to have different conditions there. This is where the second types of logic will help you out. The second type of logic that we use in Power Automate is known as switch. All right. A switch will be used in these conditions that we are accepting. In switch condition, you will have an equation such as the value to compare. So value to compare, you can say in our case is rating. And there can be several other values of this rating. So value is rating. If rating is equal to 1, rating can also be equal to 2. Rating can also be equal to 3, right? So there can be a lot of values for it. And you would say based out of the value of 1, 2, and 3, you want to perform different action. Such as if it is 1, send an email, right? If it is 2, then send Teams message. If it is 3, then create a record in SharePoint. Right. So I think you're referring to this particular. If there are different values, different sort of things that you wanted to do, in these conditions, you would use switches, which can switch from 1, 2, and 3. So similar to what I am introducing right over here, which is condition, right? I can also introduce a switch. I'll delete it. I'll click on new step in control. I'll introduce a switch here. In switch, I would say rating of the application, which is again converting into an integer value. Rate the application equal to OK. Now the rating of the application, if it is equal to 1, right, then send an email. Send email to myself. Rating is 1. I want to bring another case. If rating is equal to 2, right, then post a choice of message in a chatbot. Similarly, I can go on adding cases. So I'll add another case here. So you can see I can have multiple cases. If rating is equal to 3, then I may need to do another thing, right? This time I can send it to my Gmail. And do not restrict your thinking to only sending an email. There are a lot of things that can be done. So proper connection has to be set up. I hope this answers your question, how you can configure it for different values. Right?
Yeah, it's for switch case.
It's a switch case, yes. So if value is 1, this will follow 2, then 3, and then there can be multiple cases. There can also be a default case.
Yes, sir.
A default case, which will be if no value matches, then you can also configure a default case here.
Okay, fine. Sir, suppose one case is that if A is greater than equal to 3 and less than 5, means it's using that 3 or 4. Then how to add that logic?
That means if A is 3 or 5, right? If 3 or 4.
Yeah, A is 3 or 4.
Then I think you will use condition itself. You will use control, you will use condition, and you will say here that rate the application is equal to 3. And add a
yes,
logic.
Add is for means what?
2 conditions, right?
Okay.
The OR value. It can be 3 or it can be 4.
Okay. We can add more conditions also.
We can add values as well. Yeah, we can add. You can add more conditions as well instead of OR and AND. Yes.
And suppose I have to means 3 conditions, 4 conditions are there, and the middle 2 conditions I am using OR, and first and then OR then AND. And how to do that?
You can do that. No, you can add it, and then you can choose what would be the AND value, what would be the OR value.
Okay, sir, get it, sir. Means by choosing choose the 2 conditions and put AND or OR.
I mean, that's the best case. Yes, you can add groups as well. By grouping, you can then choose between AND and OR.
Okay, sir.
So these and these are all in OR, but between these, if I add another value, these are in AND.
These are in OR. Okay. Any questions? Any more questions from others?
Answer in that if condition.
Mm-hmm.
If the condition is satisfied, we can also add one more condition also there. If else condition.
Within the condition, within the year, yes, we can add that. All right. So today we have learned about conditions. Today we have learned about number one control condition, which is conditions here. The second thing that we have learned is a switch, right? Tomorrow we will start our day with a third types of logic, which is known as do until. And we also have another one which is known as apply to each. So that would become our fourth logic to learn. Today we will limit our class to this. Let me know if you have any questions, any queries that I can address.